Hi everypony, and this is my second attempt at a video. I hope I will be more understandable and maybe even enjoyable this time. One can hope, alright? And I'll start things off by clearly saying what I'm trying to go into here. This is a critical analysis of the main six and their dynamic and how they relate to us as viewers. The main six, at its core, is all about Twilight Sparkle. To understand how the dynamic of the main six works, we must first take a look at Twilight. The rest of the main six emphasizes one or more aspect of Twilight Sparkle that she must either learn or strengthen, acting as foils to Twilight. Twilight serves as the show's avatar to teach lessons about friendship, and although she accomplishes this by writing a letter to Princess Celestia at the end of each episode, there is more that goes on here. She is the character that shows the most character development, going from an asocial pony that locks herself in a literal ivory tower, to eventually mastering friendship in the form of her Alicorn ascension. From a literary standpoint, Twilight Sparkle is perfect to serve as the audience's conduit to convey messages to the viewer. Her many quirks and faults make her a more relatable character, but also serve a greater purpose to be discussed forthwith. Her initial sociability obviously plays into this, as a pony who considers her studies over her friends, and she has a very small social network. This makes writing her interactions convenient, since the amount of characters that she has interactions with is logically limited. Twilight's many quirks serve as conflict points in the show, which will slowly be discussed over the course of this video. Her conflicts offer opportunities for her personality to bounce off the other five, creating the group dynamic. First up is her most obvious, her love of books and learning. This is her most defining characteristic, so much that it could be referenced as her archetype. So this is the one that I'll be delving into the most. With Pinkie Pie, you won't find a more obvious foil anywhere else on the show, for although the other ponies can be believed to be at least at some point disciplined or trained, Pinkie is the only one whose almost excessive optimism stems from her lack of discipline. Pinkie is shown to be a very much free spirit, the polar opposite of what Twilight is. Twilight is bound by the rules of her society, and she is at first very close-minded, and her interactions with Pinkie Pie are meant to open her, and by extension the viewer, to new ideas. She at many times acts as the opposite of book learning, conventional wisdom. This would stress the difference between people that rely on a vast and comprehensive knowledge base, and people that would leave things to common sense. With Applejack, well, Applejack is a curious character that, like Pinkie Pie, she's not a very rounded presence on the show. Whereas Pinkie Pie personifies a sort of hyper-optimistic girl, Applejack is a realist. In a darker show, Applejack would be portrayed as a cynic, doubting the protagonist at every point. However, since this is a show about ponies, Applejack's character and archetype has little room to do that. She fulfills her role as a dependable one, serving as an example to Twilight. In times of conflict, she is the one that Twilight looks to in order to stay grounded and reasonable. However, since Twilight is already very level-headed, unless Applejack is given more character depth, there is little for her to interact with Twilight on this level. I would say that she serves a better purpose reinforcing Pinkie Pie and Rainbow Dash's presence, being reasonable when Pinkie isn't, and being the realist when Dash has her head up in the clouds. Applejack also has the major theme of family ties, something that isn't really touched upon in the rest of the show. And although it isn't flashy, as being able to make amazing dresses like Best Pony, or going after the dream of joining the Wonderbolts, I think it's a very important theme to get across in the viewership. Applejack's interaction with her family is what set up the viewer's understanding of how a pony family is supposed to work, their interactions and nuances. When we are introduced to Twilight's brother, their interaction is more believable because of Applejack. Fluttershy. Dealing with shyness is a very important thing for Twilight and by extension the viewer. However, since Twilight is very confident in herself apart from her psychotic breaks and brief lapses in judgment, there's not much room for Fluttershy to develop as much more than a foil to the rest of the main ensemble. There's an issue here that's been touched upon by a large portion of the fandom with Fluttershy's character, her linearity and flat dimension. Since it's been discussed to that extent, I won't repeat it here, but I do find some merit in her flat character design. Without Fluttershy, it's really difficult for the viewer to realize the degree to which the other characters have changed. When one of the other main six learns a lesson and subsequently applies it in a later episode, the fact that Fluttershy is such a static character lets the viewer recall a time when they weren't, and that emphasizes the change. With the last two, we get into how Twilight, and by extension girls, challenge social stereotypes. The interactions between Twilight, Rainbow Dash, and Rarity are quite different than the interactions between Twilight, Pinkie Pie, Applejack, and Fluttershy. Whereas the latter interactions focus on Twilight's internal conflicts, the former focuses on Twilight's interaction with external ones. Rainbow Dash and Rarity also serve as comments on societal norms, but we'll get to that. Rainbow Dash. I personally like to think of Rainbow Dash as the youngest in the group, with her head full of dreams and ambition. Twilight's interaction with Rainbow Dash is less verbal and more metaphysical. Other members of the analysis community, whom won't be named here, hold a candle for Dashy's alternative lifestyle, and I think this is a very interesting interpretation of her character. The fact that she's so confident in her abilities, even more so than Twilight, serves as a model for Twilight to compare herself to, and Rainbow Dash's dreams of flying with the Wonder Bolts weaves wonderfully into the story. Twilight Sparkle, if you really noticed, has no real drive behind her. She's sent to Ponyville by Princess Celestia, and Rainbow Dash is her first interaction with a pony that knows where she wants to go in life. By the end of the third season, Twilight is not known to have a clear long-term goal, other than studying the magic of friendship, which magical mystery cure wrapped up. With Twilight's ascension to Alicorn status, I'm hoping that she will develop a long-term goal, and like Rainbow Dash, work and progress towards it. And finally, we get to Best Pony. Now, Rarity represents the element of generosity, but let's face the facts. She's vain, sometimes even manipulative, and the instances where she shows generosity have to be clearly portrayed by the writing staff to come out. Why, then, is she such an ingenious character? Aside from the fact that her perceived flaws aren't really flaws at all, and serve to layer her character, Rarity is shown to be a successful businesswoman, and she serves as the example for Twilight to follow after reaching adulthood. That's right, I said it. Rarity is the best example of femininity turned on her stereotype in a very, very long time, not only in Western animation, but in storytelling as a whole. I can't give enough praise to the characterization of Rarity, and here's why. Rarity is very much a Hawksian woman, a woman who is not afraid to speak her mind, an intelligent mare who can keep up with the wittiest colt without much effort, and is known for taking action to get what she wants. In fact, Rarity, more than any other pony, even Twilight, is shown to actively take action to get what she wants. Let's look at history for a second. Rarity wants to become a designer as a foal, so she starts to make dresses. She wants her cutie mark, and her magic leads her to her calling. But finding gems in a rock? Please. If a more obvious reference to Disney's Finding a Diamond in the Rough exists, please enlighten me. She wants social and critical acclaim, so she starts her own business, puts up fashion shows at the drop of a hat, and without compromising her friendship or beliefs, strives again and again to be the type of pony every pony should know. And she's very correct. Twilight is a representation and metaphorical stand-in for the viewer in the show, and as we learn lessons of friendship as Twilight does, there's no better friend and role model to have than Rarity. To have someone that pushes herself to get what she wants, to strive for perfection and excellence in all aspects of her being, and then, as if that wasn't a good enough message, tries to bring out the best in others. Rarity sees diamonds shining in the hearts of others and brings them to be noticed, and accentuates them. Twilight and Rarity's relationship is one of realization and actualization. Like Rainbow Dash, the comparisons that can be drawn between the two characters is more effectively set as a social metaphor and a character type than verbal or physical comparison between the two. Twilight, although having her cutie mark, has no goals other than to be with Princess Celestia. This, in this pony's humble opinion, is very shallow and a flimsy goal. Rarity is self-actualized both as a character on her own and as a role model for Twilight, and by extension, the audience of little girls. I believe these concepts serve as a basis for the interactions between the mares, and after looking at the dynamic in this way, it's clear to me what great writing is done here. This concept is applicable to slice-of-life episodes in the show, but is much more important in the story arc-driven episodes. The purpose of the show on the surface is to be a show for little girls to market pony dolls, of course. Hasbro probably wouldn't have it any other way. However, it's wonderful that the messages shown to be conveyed effectively in the show both try to persuade the viewers to believe that friendship really is magic, that friendship will make your life both intrinsically happier and can even change your destiny, and at the same time entertain us to no end.